Waste good food on you? That's cute. My sister Amanda sneered at her lavish wedding reception. Just leave the gift and go home. I blinked, stunned as guests at nearby tables fell silent. The expensive dress I'd carefully chosen suddenly felt too tight. My parents stood nearby, saying nothing. Well, maybe she should go, my dad finally muttered, avoiding my eyes. Mom nodded slightly. 20 years of being the family disappointment crystallized in that moment. All right, I'll go, I smiled, then added, but just know this. You'll all regret it. Growing up as the heavy sister while Amanda was the beautiful, athletic golden child shaped my entire childhood. From the moment she took her first graceful steps at 10 months old, my sister became the sun around which our family orbited. I was 4 when she was born, already a quiet, bookish child who preferred reading to running. By elementary school, the contrast between us was the family's favorite topic of conversation. Why can't you be more like your sister? Became the soundtrack to my youth, playing on repeat at every family gathering. While Amanda twirled in dance recitals and won soccer trophies, I excelled in academics and creative writing. My report cards filled with, "As might earn a distracted good job from my parents," but Amanda's participation in anything warranted celebration dinners and enthusiastic praise. I remember my 8th grade science fair project won first place at the state level. That same weekend, Amanda scored the winning goal in her junior varsity soccer game. Guess which accomplishment dominated our dinner conversation for weeks? Guess which one warranted a special family outing to celebrate? It wasn't my academic achievement. The summer before high school, I found solace in books and writing while battling typical teenage weight fluctuations. My mother noticed immediately. "Jenna, should you really be eating that?" became her standard greeting. Meanwhile, Amanda could devour entire pizzas without comment because she burned it off at practice. Food became complicated territory, marked with judgment and shame whenever I approached it. Despite the constant comparisons, I managed to forge my own path. I graduated top of my class and earned a scholarship to State University, where I majored in marketing and communications. Amanda dropped out of college after 2 semesters to find herself, which somehow never bothered our parents. When I landed my first job at a respected marketing firm in the city, my father commented that I was finally contributing something. Amanda's string of retail jobs and failed relationships were merely her finding her way. Last month, I earned a major promotion to senior marketing strategist at my firm. After 5 years of 60-hour work weeks and consistent excellence, I finally felt professional validation. I called my parents to share the news, but they cut the call short because they were helping Amanda pick out wedding invitations. Her engagement to Greg, a charming investment banker from a good family, had eclipsed everything else in their world. When Amanda first announced her engagement 6 months ago, I was genuinely happy for her. Despite our complicated relationship, I never stopped hoping she would find happiness. Greg seemed polished and successful, if a bit arrogant. They made a picture-perfect couple on Instagram, posting professional photos of their engagement in Central Park, with Amanda's massive diamond ring prominently featured. "Will you help me plan everything?" Amanda had asked during our monthly sister lunch, which had become tradition after I moved back to our hometown 3 years ago for a job opportunity. "You're so organized and creative." The request touched me deeply. Maybe this would be our chance to finally connect as adults, to move past our childhood dynamics. I threw myself into helping whenever Amanda allowed. I created spreadsheets comparing vendors, researched venues, and even drove her to cake tastings. But as the wedding approached, Amanda's behavior became increasingly demanding. My suggestions were routinely dismissed, my tasks reassigned to her bridesmaids, all thin, beautiful women from her yoga studio. 2 weeks before the wedding, I spent an entire Saturday shopping for a dress. I wanted something that would be acceptable to my family while still making me feel beautiful. After 7 hours and visits to 12 stores, I found it. A navy blue, a line dress with subtle beading that complemented my curves rather than hiding them. It cost nearly $1,000, far beyond my budget, but the look on the saleswoman's face when I emerged from the dressing room convinced me it was worth the investment. I also spent weeks creating what I thought was the perfect wedding gift. I collected photographs from throughout Amanda's life and created a custom memory book documenting her journey. I wrote personalized captions and left space for wedding photos to be added later. Along with the book, I contributed $2,000 to their honeymoon fund, money that should have gone toward my own vacation or retirement savings. Everything changed 2 weeks before the wedding. I had stopped by Greg's office building to deliver some paperwork Amanda needed signed for the caterer. As I approached the glass front doors, I saw Greg outside the coffee shop next door, locked in an intimate embrace with a tall blonde woman I'd never seen before. They weren't just hugging, they were kissing passionately, his hand inappropriately low on her back. I froze, unsure what to do. Should I confront him? Tell Amanda immediately? The wedding plans were complete. Deposits paid. Guests confirmed. My parents had invested enormous sums in this perfect day. Amanda was ecstatic, constantly talking about her dream come true. Would I be the villain for speaking up? Would anyone even believe me over Golden Boy Greg? After days of agonizing, I decided to keep quiet. Perhaps it was a momentary lapse in judgment, a goodbye to an ex. I couldn't bear to be the one to shatter Amanda's happiness, especially when our relationship had improved during wedding planning. I pushed down my concerns and focused on supporting my sister. The rehearsal dinner arrived, held at an exclusive restaurant downtown. I noticed immediately that I was the only family member not given a +1 invitation. Even my teenage cousin was allowed to bring her boyfriend of 3 months. When I arrived alone, Amanda made a point of announcing, "We had to be selective with our guest list. It's so expensive per plate." Several relatives glanced away uncomfortably. We were midway through dinner when Amanda clinked her glass for attention. She began thanking everyone for their support, then looked directly at me with a smirk. "And we should probably have a separate table for Jenna tomorrow," she laughed, gesturing toward my plate. "Otherwise, there might not be enough food for the rest of the guests." The table fell silent. My face burned as I forced a smile. Our mother giggled nervously while our father stared intently at his plate. When conversation awkwardly resumed, I excused myself to the restroom where I spent 10 minutes fighting back tears. This was just rehearsal dinner. I couldn't imagine what the actual wedding would bring. The morning of Amanda's wedding arrived with perfect weather, and my renewed determination to make this a positive day. Perhaps the rehearsal dinner comment was just wedding stress or a bad joke. Today represented a fresh start, a chance to repair our strained relationship and create new family memories. I woke early, styling my hair in loose waves and applying makeup more carefully than I had in years. The navy dress looked even more beautiful in the morning light. For once, I felt confident about my appearance. This wouldn't be about comparisons. It would be about celebrating my sister. I arrived at the church 2 hours before the ceremony, hoping to help with last-minute details. Amanda and her bridesmaids were already in the preparation room, surrounded by professional hairstylists and makeup artists. "Jenna, what are you doing here so early?" Amanda asked, her voice sharp despite her smile. "I thought I could help with anything you need," I offered, holding up a bag with emergency supplies, safety pins, clear nail polish for stocking runs, extra hairpins and mints. "We have everything under control," said Brittany, Amanda's maid of honor and former college roommate. "The wedding planner has it all handled." "Maybe you could check on Mom and Dad?" Amanda suggested, clearly wanting me elsewhere. Dismissed, I wandered to the church lobby, where guests would eventually arrive. I straightened programs on tables and adjusted flower arrangements that didn't need adjusting. Our parents arrived an hour later, my mother immediately rushing to Amanda's side while my father checked in with the officiant. The ceremony itself was beautiful. Despite everything, I found myself wiping away tears as Amanda walked down the aisle looking radiant in her designer gown. When she and Greg exchanged vows, promising to love and cherish each other forever, I pushed away memories of that kiss outside the coffee shop. Today was about hope and new beginnings. After formal photographs, during which I was positioned at the far end of every group shot, guests moved to the reception venue, an elegant ballroom at the Grand Marriott. The cocktail hour featured string musicians and servers circulating with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. I noticed several people watching me as I accepted a glass of champagne and a canapé, as if mentally counting my consumption. When it was time to find our seats for dinner, I searched for my name among the elegantly calligraphed place cards. Table 1 was for the wedding party and parents. Tables 2 through 5 held close relatives and family friends. I finally located my name at table 19, the furthest from the head table. Seated with my great-aunt Martha, who was nearly deaf, 2 distant cousins from my father's side who lived across the country, and several elderly family friends I barely knew. "Interesting seating arrangement," commented Cousin Jordan, who stopped by my table before finding his own seat much closer to the action. "You're practically in another zip code." I forced a laugh. I'm sure it was just how the numbers worked out. The real trouble began during dinner service. Waiters moved efficiently around the room, placing salad courses before each guest. When they reached our table, I noticed the server hesitate before moving past me without setting down a plate. "Excuse me," I said politely. "I think you missed me." The server looked embarrassed. "I'll check with the captain," he said before hurrying away. Minutes passed. Everyone at my table had been served, and I could see waiters delivering entrees to the first tables. Finally, the head server approached our table, leaning down to whisper to me, "I'm very sorry, ma'am, but we've been instructed not to serve you." "What?" I asked, certain I'd misheard. "Perhaps you should speak with the bride," he suggested uncomfortably before retreating. Confused and embarrassed, I sat silently as my table mates ate, avoiding eye contact with me. When the entree course arrived, again bypassing me entirely, I decided to speak directly with the wedding planner, a professional woman named Catherine, who had always been kind during planning sessions. I found her near the kitchen entrance, clipboard in hand. "Catherine, there seems to be some mistake with the meal service," I began. Her expression was pained. "Jenna, I'm so sorry. This was not my decision, but the bride was very specific." "Specific about what?" "About not serving you," she said. Catherine hesitated. "She said you were on a special diet and wouldn't be eating." I was speechless. Before I could respond, Amanda appeared beside us, champagne glass in hand. "Is there a problem?" she asked with exaggerated sweetness. "Amanda, why did you tell the caterers not to serve me?" I asked quietly, trying to keep the conversation private. My sister's smile turned cold. "We're already over budget on food. Besides, it's really for your own good." "My own good?" I repeated, stunned by her cruelty. "Come on, Jenna," she said, raising her voice enough that nearby guests turned to look. "Let's not pretend you need more food." The wedding planner slipped away, clearly uncomfortable with the confrontation. I noticed several guests watching us, including our parents who were approaching from the head table. "What's happening over here?" my mother asked, her smile fixed firmly in place for the benefit of onlookers. "Jenna's upset that she doesn't get special treatment at my wedding," Amanda announced. "I just want to eat dinner like everyone else," I explained, keeping my voice low. "Waste good food on you?" "That's cute." Amanda sneered loudly enough that conversations at nearby tables halted. "Just leave the gift and go home." I blinked, stunned by the public humiliation. Guests at nearby tables fell silent, some looking away in embarrassment while others watched with undisguised interest. The expensive dress I'd carefully chosen suddenly felt too tight, my skin burning with shame. My parents stood nearby, saying nothing. I looked to them, waiting for some intervention, some acknowledgement that this behavior was unacceptable. They avoided my gaze. "Well, maybe she should go," my dad finally muttered, staring at the floor. My mother nodded slightly in agreement. 20 years of being the family disappointment crystallized in that moment. I thought of all the times I'd sought their approval, all the ways I'd tried to earn the love they gave Amanda so freely. I thought of the memory book and honeymoon money sitting on the gift table, symbols of hope for a relationship that clearly wasn't possible. "All right, I'll go," I said with surprising composure, summoning every ounce of dignity I possessed. Then I added quietly but firmly, "But just know this. You'll all regret it." I turned and walked toward the exit, holding my head high despite the hot tears threatening to spill. I collected my purse and wrap from the coat check, ignoring the attendant's concerned look. As I passed the gift table, I considered retrieving my carefully created present, but decided against it. Let them have it. Let them see what they'd thrown away. Outside in the cool evening air, I ordered a rideshare and sat on a bench to wait. From my position, I could see through the windows as the reception continued inside. Music and laughter, resuming as if nothing had happened, as if I had never been there at all. While waiting for my car, I noticed Greg slip outside, phone pressed to his ear as he walked to a quiet corner of the parking lot. I couldn't hear his words, but his furtive manner told me everything I needed to know. "Can't wait to see you too," he said, voice carrying on the night air as he passed near my bench. "She'll never know. Aruba will be perfect." "Yes," I told her it was a surprise. "She thinks we're going to Paris." My suspicions confirmed. I watched my sister's new husband arrange his honeymoon rendezvous with another woman on their wedding night. The final confirmation of what kind of man my sister had married. When my car arrived, I left without looking back, unsure if I would ever see my family again. Back in my apartment, I finally allowed myself to break down. I kicked off my heels, collapsed onto my couch still wearing the $1,000 dress, and sobbed until my throat was raw. Every cruel comment, every comparison, every moment of conditional love crashed over me in waves. For 3 hours, I cried, alternating between grief and rage, sometimes screaming into a pillow, other times lying in numb silence. Around midnight, my phone began vibrating with messages, not from my parents or Amanda, but from extended family members who had witnessed the scene. "Are you okay?" texted my cousin Jordan. "What happened tonight was not right. I've never seen such cruelty," wrote my mother's cousin Stephanie. "You handled yourself with remarkable grace." Their messages offered small comfort, but couldn't erase the public humiliation or family betrayal. I turned off my phone, took a scalding shower, and crawled into bed, exhausted beyond measure. The next morning, I woke to pounding on my door. My best friend Taylor stood outside, holding coffee and breakfast bags. "Your cousin Jordan called me," she explained, pushing past me into the apartment. "He thought someone should check on you." I hadn't told Taylor about the wedding, too embarrassed to admit how my family had treated me. As we sat at my kitchen table, I recounted everything. The rehearsal dinner comment, being seated at the furthest table, the denied food, Amanda's public mockery, and my parents' silent complicity. "Those monsters," Taylor said, gripping her coffee cup so tightly I feared it might shatter. "Jenna, you realize this is abuse, right? This has nothing to do with your weight, and everything to do with their toxicity." "You should have seen the guests' faces," I said. "They were mortified." "Good," Taylor replied firmly. "Let them be witnesses. Your family should be ashamed." Over the next several days, I threw myself into work, grateful for the distraction. No apology came from my family. Amanda and Greg departed for their honeymoon, her social media flooded with perfect beach photos from Paris, the decoy destination apparently abandoned. My parents texted once, 3 days after the wedding, not to apologize but to suggest I had overreacted and embarrassed Amanda on her special day. I didn't respond. At my marketing firm, I struggled to maintain focus despite my emotional turmoil. My boss, Diane, a sharp, compassionate woman in her 50s, noticed immediately. "Something's off with you," she said, closing my office door during our weekly meeting. "Your work is still excellent, but you seem diminished somehow." I hesitated, reluctant to bring personal issues into the workplace, but Diane's concerned expression broke through my defenses. "Family issues," I admitted. "My sister's wedding was last weekend, and it didn't go well," Diane guessed. The story spilled out, condensed but honest. To my surprise, Diane shared that she had similar family struggles decades ago. "My brother was the golden child," she explained. "Nothing I achieved was ever enough. I spent years trying to earn their approval, before realizing it wasn't about me at all." "How did you handle it?" I asked. "Therapy," she said simply. "And boundaries. Lots of firm, clear boundaries." That afternoon, I scheduled my first appointment with a therapist specializing in family dynamics. Dr. Lisa Bennett's warm office became a sanctuary where I could unpack a lifetime of complicated feelings without judgment. "What your family did was wrong," Dr. Bennett stated in our first session. "Their behavior says nothing about your worth and everything about their limitations." Over the next 3 weeks, I began examining patterns that had shaped my life. How my mother's fixation on appearance stemmed from her own insecurities. How my father's passivity enabled the dysfunction. How Amanda and I had been pitted against each other since childhood, creating a competition neither of us had chosen. Meanwhile, Amanda returned from her honeymoon and immediately resumed posting perfect newlywed content on social media, acting as if the wedding incident had never occurred. My parents made occasional contact through brief texts, always framing me as the problem that needed fixing rather than acknowledging their behavior. I maintained limited responses, focusing instead on rebuilding my sense of self. At work, I channeled my energy into a major new project, creating the most innovative campaign proposals of my career. Diane noticed the quality of my work and began involving me in high-profile client meetings. "You have a unique perspective," she told me, after I successfully presented to a difficult client. "You see connections others miss." 4 weeks after the wedding, Diane called me into her office with exciting news. "We've landed a major new client, and I want you to lead the account," she announced. "It's an investment firm looking to rebrand after some personnel changes. The CEO was impressed with your portfolio." "That's amazing," I said, genuinely excited about the opportunity to lead such a significant project. "They're coming in tomorrow for the initial consultation," Diane continued. "The company is Harrison Burke Investments. Have you heard of them?" My blood ran cold. Harrison Burke was Greg's firm, where he served as junior partner and heir apparent to the founder, his uncle Richard Burke. Of all the investment companies in the city, what were the odds? "I'm familiar with them," I said carefully. "Are you sure you want me as lead?" "Absolutely," Diane confirmed. "This could be a career-making account for you." That night, I researched everything about Harrison Burke Investments, preparing more thoroughly than for any previous client. If Greg was going to be in tomorrow's meeting, I needed every advantage possible. The next morning, I arrived early, wearing my most professional outfit, a tailored charcoal suit with subtle pinstripes. I arranged the conference room with precision, rehearsed my talking points, and mentally prepared for the possibility of seeing Greg. At exactly 9 o'clock, the receptionist escorted the Harrison Burke team into our conference room. Greg entered last, buried in his phone. When he finally looked up and saw me standing at the head of the table, his face drained of color. "Welcome to Marshall & Partners," I said smoothly, extending my hand toward Richard Burke while pointedly ignoring Greg. "We're excited to discuss your rebranding needs." For the next hour, I led a flawless presentation, outlining our understanding of their market position and suggesting innovative approaches to refresh their image. Throughout, Greg shifted uncomfortably in his seat, avoiding eye contact and contributing minimally to the discussion. "Trust is essential to your brand identity," I emphasized, looking directly at Greg. "Clients need absolute confidence in the fidelity of their financial advisors." Greg coughed violently, excusing himself to get water. When he returned, I continued, as if nothing had happened. After the meeting concluded successfully, with Richard Burke expressing enthusiasm for our proposals, Greg lingered behind as others filed out. "Jenna," he began nervously once we were alone. "I had no idea you worked here." "Clearly," I replied, gathering my presentation materials. "About the wedding," he stammered. "That was unfortunate. Amanda was just stressed." "Was she?" I kept my voice neutral. "She seemed quite deliberate to me." "Look." Greg lowered his voice, glancing toward the door. "I'd appreciate if you didn't mention our connection to your colleagues. Keep things professional." "I'm always professional," I assured him. "Unlike some people who conduct personal affairs during business hours." His eyes widened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing at all," I said, gathering my materials. "I'm just committed to transparency and honesty in all my relationships, business and otherwise." Greg blocked my path to the door. "What exactly do you know?" he demanded, voice tight with anxiety. I know enough, I answered calmly. I know what I saw outside Northside Coffee 2 weeks before your wedding. And I know about your special plans in Aruba that weren't with my sister. Greg's face paled further. Jenna, you don't understand. It's complicated. Is it? Seems pretty straightforward to me. You can't tell Amanda, he insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. It would destroy her. Interesting how you suddenly care about her feelings, I observed. You didn't seem concerned about destroying her when you were arranging your honeymoon rendezvous. I'll make it worth your while, Greg offered, lowering his voice further. $10,000. Just keep quiet. The offer stunned me. Not just the fact that he would try to buy my silence, but the insulting assumption that I would betray my sister for money, despite everything that had happened between us. I don't want your money, Greg, I said coldly. But you should know that if you ever hurt Amanda in ways she can see, I'll make sure she knows everything. As I moved toward the door, my phone rang. My mother's name flashed on the screen, her first call rather than text since the wedding. Curious, I answered. Jenna, my mother began without greeting. Your father and I have been talking, and we think it's time you apologize to Amanda. Apologize? I repeated, incredulous. For what exactly? For creating a scene at her wedding, and then ignoring her since. She's been reaching out to you. This was news to me. I haven't received any messages from Amanda. Well, she says she's tried, my mother insisted. Regardless, you need to make this right. Family comes first, Jenna. Does it? I asked quietly. Because that hasn't been my experience. My mother's voice hardened. This is exactly the kind of dramatic, attention-seeking behavior that causes problems. You've always been so sensitive. In the background, I could hear my father murmur agreement, as always deferring to my mother's judgment. Something broke inside me. Years of suppressed feelings erupted in a calm, controlled response that surprised even me. Let me be very clear, I said. I will not apologize for being publicly humiliated. Amanda instructed the caterers not to feed me. You and Dad stood by and suggested I leave rather than intervene. If anyone owes an apology, it's all of you. That's not how it happened, my mother sputtered. There were 200 witnesses, Mom. People have been texting me for weeks about how horrified they were. You're exaggerating as usual, she dismissed. I'm not doing this anymore, I stated firmly. I won't engage in these manipulative conversations. When you're ready to acknowledge what really happened and take responsibility, we can talk. Until then, I need space. I ended the call before she could respond, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Setting boundaries was unfamiliar territory, but Dr. Bennett had been right about their necessity. I looked up to find Greg staring at me with newfound respect, or perhaps fear. He'd witnessed a transformation he hadn't expected from the family scapegoat. You should go, I told him. Your colleagues are waiting. As Greg hurried away, my office phone rang. It was the security desk downstairs. Miss Crawford, there's a woman here asking for you. Says she's your sister. Should we send her up? I hesitated only briefly. Yes, I decided. Send her up. Whatever Amanda wanted, I was finally ready to face it on my own terms. I waited nervously at my office door, unsure what to expect from this unexpected visit. When the elevator doors opened, I barely recognized the woman who emerged. Amanda, always immaculately presented, looked disheveled. Her eyes were red-rimmed and puffy, her normally perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt rather than her usual carefully curated outfits. Amanda? I stepped forward with genuine concern. Is everything okay? She didn't answer, just rushed toward me and did something she hadn't done in over a decade. She hugged me, clinging tightly as if I were a lifeline in a storm. Can we talk somewhere private? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. I led her to my office, closing the door behind us. Amanda sank into the visitor chair, seeming smaller somehow, the confident facade completely absent. I just ran into Greg downstairs, she said. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Said something about a last-minute meeting he forgot to mention. I kept my expression neutral. He was here with the Harrison Burke team. My firm is handling their rebranding. Amanda studied my face. You didn't know he was coming, did you? Not until yesterday, I admitted. She nodded slowly, then took a deep breath. I owe you an apology, Jenna. What I did at the wedding was unforgivable. The directness surprised me. I'd expected excuses or deflection, not this straightforward acknowledgement. Why did you do it? I asked. The question that had haunted me for weeks. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. I don't even know anymore. It was like watching someone else take over my body. She paused, wiping her cheeks. No, that's not true. I know exactly why. I was jealous. Jealous? I repeated incredulously. Of me? Amanda, you've had everything handed to you your entire life. I've had attention, she corrected. Not love. Not respect. Just superficial praise for being thin and pretty and doing what was expected. She looked up, meeting my eyes directly. You have something real, Jenna. You built a career on your own terms. People respect you for your mind, not your appearance. I saw how your colleagues look at you when I came in. They admire you. I sat speechless, trying to process this revelation. My sister, the golden child, envied me? That doesn't excuse what happened, I finally said. Nothing could, she agreed immediately. I was cruel and horrible. I let years of competition and resentment explode in the worst possible way. I've been trying to work up the courage to come see you since we got back from Paris. I noted she said Paris, not Aruba. Clearly, Greg had maintained his deception. Mom said you've been trying to reach out, I mentioned cautiously. Amanda looked confused. What? No, I haven't. I've been too ashamed to contact you directly. She called just before you arrived, demanding I apologize to you. Said you'd been trying to reach me. That's a complete lie, Amanda said, anger flashing in her eyes. Classic mom, manipulating both of us. The realization hit us simultaneously. For years, we'd been played against each other, our mother carefully controlling the narrative to maintain the family dynamic she preferred. Have you noticed anything strange with Greg? I asked carefully, changing the subject. Amanda's expression crumpled. That's the other reason I'm here. I think he's having an affair. My heart sank. Despite everything, I took no pleasure in her pain. What makes you think that? I asked. Little things at first. Password-protected phone. Mysterious texts at odd hours. Then bigger things. Like disappearing for hours with weak excuses. She twisted her wedding ring nervously. We were supposed to go to Paris for our honeymoon, but he suddenly changed it to Aruba, claiming it was a surprise. But I overheard him on the phone talking about meeting someone there. I weighed my next words carefully. Should I tell her what I knew, confirming her worst fears, or protect her from the full truth? Have you confronted him? I asked instead. I tried. He calls me paranoid, says I'm imagining things. She looked up, vulnerability clear in her expression. Am I, Jenna? Am I losing my mind? No, I said firmly. You're not imagining things, Amanda. You know something, she said, suddenly alert. Tell me. I took a deep breath. I saw Greg with another woman 2 weeks before the wedding. They were kissing outside Northside Coffee. Amanda flinched as if physically struck. You knew before the wedding? Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? I asked gently. Would anyone have taken my word over his? She was quiet for a long moment, then shook her head. Probably not. Mom and Dad think he's perfect. There's more, I admitted. The night of your wedding, while I was waiting for my ride, I overheard him on the phone making plans to meet a woman in Aruba, not Paris. Tears flowed freely down Amanda's face now. So it's true. All of it. I moved to sit beside her, cautiously placing my hand over hers. To my surprise, she gripped it tightly. I'm sorry, Amanda. You deserve better. Do I? She asked bitterly. After how I've treated you? Maybe this is karma. No one deserves betrayal, I insisted. What happened between us is separate from what Greg's doing. Amanda wiped her eyes, a new resolve appearing in her expression. I need to know everything. I need proof he can't deny. Before I could respond, my phone rang again. My mother's name flashed on the screen for the second time that hour. I considered ignoring it, but Amanda gestured for me to answer. "Put it on speaker," she requested. I answered, activating the speakerphone. "Hello, Mom. Jenna, your behavior earlier was completely unacceptable," my mother began without preamble. "Your father and I raised you better than to speak to me that way." "I'm in a meeting," I replied calmly. "Is there something specific you needed?" "Amanda is very upset about how you've been ignoring her attempts to reconcile," my mother continued. "She's been through so much with the wedding stress, and your stubbornness is making everything worse." Amanda's eyes widened at the blatant lie. She leaned toward the phone. "Hi, Mom. I'm here with Jenna now." There was a lengthy silence before my mother recovered. "Amanda! What a nice surprise. I was just telling your sister how worried you've been." "Actually," Amanda said coolly, "I heard what you were saying, and that's not true. I haven't reached out to Jenna at all. I've been too ashamed of how I behaved at the wedding." "Well, I'm sure that's not how you meant it when we spoke," my mother backpedaled. "You said you wished things were better between you two." "Mom," Amanda interrupted, "please, stop lying. You've been doing this our whole lives, telling each of us things about the other that aren't true. It stops now." Another silence, longer this time. When my mother spoke again, her voice was tight with controlled anger. "I don't appreciate being accused of lying, Amanda. I'm only trying to help my daughters reconcile." "By making up stories?" I asked. "That's not helping, that's manipulation." "I can see you two have formed quite the alliance," my mother said stiffly. "Your father will be so disappointed to hear how you're treating me." "I'm sure he will," Amanda replied. "He always agrees with whatever you say, doesn't he?" "We'll discuss this later when you're both being more reasonable," my mother concluded before ending the call. Amanda and I stared at the silent phone, then at each other. "Has she always been like this?" Amanda asked quietly. "Yes." I nodded. "But it's the first time we've both seen it clearly." A new understanding passed between us. Decades of misunderstandings suddenly illuminated. We'd never been enemies. We'd been pawns in a dysfunctional game not of our making. "What do I do about Greg?" Amanda asked, returning to her immediate crisis. "What do you want to do?" I countered. "I want the truth," she said firmly. "All of it. No more lies or manipulation." "Then, let's get you the truth," I promised, feeling for the first time like I was truly acting as an older sister should. "Together. You can stay with me tonight if you want," I offered as we left my office building. "We can figure out a plan." Amanda nodded gratefully. I told Greg I was staying at a hotel to think. He didn't even argue. At my apartment, Amanda seemed surprised by the warm, personalized space I'd created. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with novels and marketing texts. Framed photography, my hobby since college, hung in careful arrangements. "This is beautiful," she commented, studying a black and white landscape I'd taken in New Mexico. "I had no idea you were so talented." "There's a lot we don't know about each other," I acknowledged, ordering takeout for dinner. For the first time in my memory, we ate together without any comments about food, portions, or weight. Over spring rolls and pad thai, we began reconstructing our childhood from both perspectives, comparing memories and recognizing patterns. "Remember when I won that dance competition in 7th grade?" Amanda asked. "The regional championship." I nodded. "Mom and Dad took you to that fancy restaurant in the city. They made it seem like you refused to come," Amanda revealed. "Said you were jealous and preferred to stay home." I shook my head, astonished. "They told me it was a special celebration just for you, and I wasn't invited." "They did that all the time, didn't they?" Amanda realized. "Kept us separated, told us different stories. Divide and conquer," I agreed. It made it easier to maintain the golden child and scapegoat roles. We talked late into the night, piecing together a more accurate shared history. By midnight, our conversation shifted to the immediate problem: Greg's infidelity. "I need to know who she is," Amanda said, "and how long it's been going on. Do you have access to your joint accounts?" I asked, thinking strategically. "Yes. We combined everything after the engagement." Greg said it was more efficient. Let's look at the credit card statements, I suggested. Cheaters almost always leave financial evidence. Amanda logged into their banking portal on my laptop. Together, we examined 3 months of statements, finding several suspicious charges. Jewelry from Tiffany that Amanda never received, dinner reservations for 2 on evenings Greg claimed to be working late, hotel charges in nearby cities. He's not even being careful, Amanda noted, anger replacing hurt in her voice. He doesn't think you'll check, I pointed out. He underestimates you. We also discovered concerning transfers from their joint savings to an account we couldn't identify. Thousands of dollars moving monthly. He claimed we were saving for a down payment on a house, Amanda said. But he's been draining the account. We need more information, I decided. And I think I know how to get it. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. Amanda and I implemented our plan, starting with a careful tracking of Greg's movements. Using the Find My Friends app that Amanda had set up with Greg during their engagement, we followed his suspicious 2-hour lunch break to an upscale apartment building downtown. Parked across the street, we watched Greg emerge at exactly 2 o'clock, escorting a tall blonde woman to her car, kissing her goodbye in broad daylight. That's her, I said quietly. The same woman from before your wedding. Amanda stared, white-knuckled grip on the dashboard, as her husband of only 1 month displayed his betrayal so openly. I want to confront him, she stated, reaching for the door handle. Not here, I cautioned. Not where she can warn him or get involved. We need to be strategic. Amanda agreed reluctantly. We followed Greg back to his office, then returned to my apartment to refine our approach. That evening, Greg called Amanda repeatedly, each call bringing transparent lies. I'll be working late tonight, babe. Big client meeting. The Tokyo markets are opening. I need to monitor some trades. Dave needs help with the Stevenson account. Don't wait up. Each excuse contradicted information we'd gathered, or statements he'd made earlier. Amanda maintained her composure admirably, playing along while documenting every inconsistency. I never realized how bad a liar he is, she commented after the 3rd call. How did I not see this before? Because you trusted him, I said simply. That's not your failure. It's his. Amanda moved into my spare bedroom that night, and the next, creating space to think clearly away from Greg's manipulation. Our parents called repeatedly, demanding to know where she was, insisting she return home immediately to work things out. They really do favor him over their own daughter, Amanda realized after one particularly forceful call from our father. I never saw it before. A week after Amanda's appearance at my office, we gathered enough evidence to confront Greg definitively. Photographs, financial records, text messages Amanda had recovered from their shared cloud account. We arranged to meet him at a neutral location, a quiet cafe near my apartment. Greg arrived looking irritated, his expression changing to wariness when he spotted me sitting beside Amanda. What's this about? He demanded. And why is she here? Sit down, Greg, Amanda said with remarkable composure. We need to talk. Whatever Jenna's told you? She's lying, he began immediately. She's always been jealous of us. I haven't told her anything, I responded calmly. You've done that yourself. Amanda placed a folder on the table, opening it to reveal the compiled evidence of his betrayal. Who is Megan Richards? She asked directly. And why are you paying the rent on her apartment? Greg's face paled, his confidence visibly crumbling. Where did you get this? Does it matter? Amanda pressed. Is it true? For 15 minutes, Greg cycled through predictable stages. Denial, anger, minimizing, and finally desperate negotiation. It meant nothing, he insisted. It was just physical. You're the one I love. How long? Amanda asked, remaining remarkably steady. It doesn't matter. Greg hedged. 2 years, I interjected. Based on the financial records. Their relationship predates your engagement. Greg glared at me. This is none of your business. She's my sister, Amanda stated firmly. That makes it her business. The conversation ended with Amanda removing her wedding ring and placing it on the table. My lawyer will contact yours tomorrow, she informed him. Don't come home tonight. I'll be collecting my things. Greg's composure finally broke. You can't do this. My parents, the firm. Do you know what this will do to my reputation? You should have considered that before starting a relationship with your administrative assistant, Amanda replied, standing to leave. As we walked away, Greg called after us. Your parents won't support this, Amanda. They think Jenna is poisoning you against me. Amanda didn't turn around, but squeezed my hand tightly as we continued toward my car. That evening, as promised, our parents arrived at my apartment unannounced, demanding to speak with Amanda. I tried to intercept them in the hallway, but they pushed past into my living room where Amanda was sorting through photos from the wedding. This has gone far enough, my father announced. Amanda, you need to come home and work things out with Greg. I'm not going back to a cheater, Amanda replied firmly. All men stray occasionally, my mother said dismissively. It doesn't mean anything. It means everything to me, Amanda countered. And I deserve better. This is your influence, my mother accused, turning to me, filling her head with independence and unrealistic expectations. Actually, I replied calmly. Amanda made this decision entirely on her own after seeing undeniable evidence of Greg's ongoing affair. Evidence you probably manufactured, my father muttered. That's enough, Amanda said, standing to face our parents directly. Jenna has been more supportive and honest with me in 1 week than either of you have been my entire life. She knew about Greg's cheating before the wedding but didn't tell me because she knew you'd all take his side against her. That's absurd, my mother scoffed. Is it? Amanda challenged. Look how quickly you're defending him now, even knowing what he's done. My father shifted uncomfortably. The Burkes are important connections for my business. This divorce will complicate things. So your business connections matter more than your daughter's happiness? I asked incredulously. Don't be dramatic, Jenna, my mother snapped. We're thinking of Amanda's long-term security. Greg comes from money. Divorced at 28, with no career to speak of. What kind of future will she have? Any future she wants? I answered firmly. Amanda is intelligent and capable. She doesn't need to stay in a loveless marriage for security. And I'm not alone, Amanda added. I have support. She moved to stand beside me, a physical declaration of our newfound alliance. Our parents exchanged glances, realizing they'd lost control of the situation and their daughters. You're making a terrible mistake, our mother warned. Both of you. No, I replied with quiet confidence. For the first time, we're not making the mistakes you programmed us to make. After they left, Amanda turned to me with tears in her eyes. Thank you for standing by me. Always, I promised. Meaning it completely for the first time. That's what sisters do. The next morning brought a shocking discovery. Amanda woke feeling nauseated, a symptom she'd been experiencing for several days. When was your last period? I asked, a suspicion forming. Amanda's eyes widened as she counted back. 6 weeks ago. Oh God. A drugstore pregnancy test confirmed what we both feared. Amanda was pregnant with Greg's child. This changes everything, she whispered, staring at the positive test. It doesn't have to, I assured her. You still have choices. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Amanda spent the day processing this new complication while I worked from home, giving her space while remaining available. By evening, she had reached a decision. I'm keeping the baby, she announced over dinner. But that doesn't mean I'm going back to Greg. You're sure? I asked, wanting to support whatever she decided. Completely. This child deserves better than growing up watching their father cheat on their mother. She placed a protective hand over her still flat stomach. But Greg has a right to know. The following day, Amanda met with a lawyer specializing in family law, beginning the divorce process. She informed Greg about the pregnancy via email, setting clear boundaries around co-production while proceeding with the divorce. His response was immediate and manipulative. First came flowers, then tearful phone calls begging forgiveness. When these approaches failed, he enlisted our parents as advocates. You can't raise a child alone, our mother insisted during yet another unwelcome visit. Think about your baby's future. I'm not alone, Amanda replied, gesturing toward me. And a miserable marriage would be worse for my child than divorce. Over the next 2 weeks, Amanda moved fully into my spare bedroom. We packed up her belongings from the home she'd shared with Greg, and she scheduled her first prenatal appointment. Throughout this transitional period, our sibling relationship strengthened into something neither of us had experienced before: genuine support without competition. At work, I continued leading the Harrison Burke account, maintaining strict professionalism despite the personal complications. Richard Burke, Greg's uncle and company founder, seemed unaware of the family drama unfolding and was pleased with our rebranding concepts. 3 weeks after Amanda's positive pregnancy test, we received an unexpected text from our father asking to meet without our mother present. Curious but cautious, we agreed to lunch at a neutral restaurant. My father appeared tired, older somehow, as he joined us at the table. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he began awkwardly. "Why the secrecy?" Amanda asked. He hesitated, then pushed a folder across the table. "You should see this before making any final decisions about Greg." Inside were financial statements, text messages, and dated photographs spanning over 3 years, all documenting Greg's relationship with Megan Richards. More disturbingly, there were similar records for 2 other women. "You knew?" I asked incredulously. "All this time, you knew he was cheating on Amanda?" My father couldn't meet our eyes. "Richard Burke told me before the engagement. Said his nephew had commitment issues, but would settle down after marriage." Amanda looked physically ill. "You encouraged me to marry him knowing this?" "The Burkes are powerful in this town," my father said defensively. "The connection was valuable, and most men have indiscretions." "Not men worth marrying," I countered, disgusted by his rationalization. "Did Mom know too?" Amanda asked, voice barely above a whisper. Our father nodded slowly. "She thought marriage and a baby would change him. Said it was better for you to be married to a successful man who cheated than single and struggling." The betrayal cut deeper than either of us had imagined possible. Our parents hadn't just failed to protect Amanda, they had knowingly sacrificed her happiness for social and financial advantage. "Why tell us now?" I demanded. "Because he's worse than we thought," my father admitted. "The affairs were one thing, but there are financial improprieties too. The SEC is investigating some of his trades. Richard is quietly pushing him out of the company to protect the family name." Amanda stood abruptly. "I need some air." I followed her outside, where she leaned against the building, breathing deeply. "They knew," she repeated. "They knew and pushed me toward him anyway." "I'm so sorry, Amanda." "Don't be," she said, straightening with new resolve. "This is exactly what I needed. Now I can stop wondering if I'm making a mistake. Now I know exactly who supports me and who doesn't." We didn't return to finish lunch with our father. Instead, Amanda called her lawyer from the car, providing the new evidence to strengthen her divorce case. I contacted Diane, requesting a meeting about the Harrison Burke account. "We need to be careful," I explained, detailing the potential SEC investigation. "This could affect our rebranding strategy and potentially our firm's reputation." Diane listened intently, then made a decisive call to Richard Burke himself, arranging an emergency meeting. By the end of the day, we had negotiated a pause on the rebranding until the financial questions were resolved, protecting both our work and the client. "You handled that brilliantly," Diane praised afterward. "Protecting all parties while maintaining transparency. That's leadership." That evening, Amanda and I received a barrage of angry messages from our mother, who had discovered our father's unauthorized meeting. "After everything we've done for you both," she wrote, "this is how you repay us? By turning your father against me and destroying family relationships?" Neither of us responded, having finally recognized the manipulation tactics for what they were. Instead, we focused on moving forward. Amanda scheduled an appointment with Dr. Bennett, beginning her own therapeutic journey. I accompanied her to her first ultrasound, where the tiny flickering heartbeat made the pregnancy suddenly, vividly real. "I'm going to be a mother," Amanda whispered in the darkened room, wonder replacing fear in her voice. "And you're going to be an aunt." "The best aunt," I promised, squeezing her hand. Greg's attempts to manipulate Amanda continued, alternating between threats and pleas, but she remained firm in her decision. Our parents eventually realized their usual tactics were ineffective, shifting to a new strategy of acting as if nothing had happened, sending cheerful texts about nursery colors and baby names while ignoring the deeper betrayal. They're never going to truly acknowledge what they did, are they? Amanda asked one evening as we deleted yet another tone-deaf message from our mother. Probably not, I admitted. People who've spent decades justifying their behavior rarely change completely. Then we build something different, Amanda decided. A new kind of family. One based on honesty and support. As Amanda's first trimester progressed, we established new routines and boundaries. She began exploring career options, considering returning to the interior design degree she'd abandoned years earlier. I received a formal promotion to marketing director, acknowledged for my handling of difficult client situations. Life was stabilizing when Greg made one final desperate move. Having failed to convince Amanda to reconcile, he attempted to undermine my professional reputation, sending an anonymous tip to my firm's executives, suggesting I had mishandled client information. The accusation was quickly disproven when Diane reviewed all my communications and found nothing inappropriate. In the process, however, we discovered something unexpected. Greg had been using insider information from our marketing research to make stock trades, potentially violating securities laws. This evidence, when provided to Richard Burke, proved to be the final straw. Greg was removed from the family company entirely, his reputation in financial circles severely damaged. The divorce proceedings, which he had been dragging out, suddenly concluded with terms favorable to Amanda, including generous child support and a clean break. He didn't want this going public, Amanda's lawyer explained. The financial impropriety is much more damaging to his future prospects than the affairs. As autumn arrived, Amanda entered her second trimester with renewed energy and optimism. The morning sickness subsided, and her plans for the future became clearer. She enrolled in online design courses, determined to complete her degree before the baby arrived in spring. Our parents maintained distance, occasionally sending messages that we answered politely but briefly. Neither of us was ready for full reconciliation, but we left the door open to possible future healing if genuine acknowledgement ever came. They might never change, I acknowledged during a conversation about family dynamics. Probably not, Amanda agreed. But we have. And we had. In ways neither of us could have imagined that terrible night at the wedding reception, when public humiliation had seemed like the end rather than the beginning of something new and unexpectedly beautiful. 6 months later, on a crisp spring morning, I hosted a small gathering in my newly purchased townhouse. The extra bedroom had been converted into a home office, with the basement renovated as a comfortable guest suite for Amanda and the baby when they visited. "Everything looks amazing," commented Taylor, as she helped arrange flowers for the dining table. "I can't believe how much has changed since last year." Indeed, the transformation was remarkable. My promotion had brought increased responsibility and compensation, allowing for this upgrade in living space. But the most significant changes weren't material. Amanda arrived last, glowing at 36 weeks pregnant, carrying a homemade quiche for our brunch. Her divorce had finalized 3 months earlier, with terms that provided financial security while allowing her complete independence from Greg. She'd moved into a bright apartment near campus, where she was excelling in her interior design program. "Sorry I'm late," she apologized, setting down her contribution. "Baby was doing somersaults all night." "How are you feeling?" I asked, helping her into the most comfortable chair. "Huge," she laughed, patting her rounded belly. "But good. Really good." Our gathering included only people who had provided genuine support during the past difficult year. Taylor, my cousin Jordan, Diane from work, and Dr. Bennett, who had helped both Amanda and me navigate the complex family dynamics. Over brunch, we shared updates and plans. Diane announced my nomination for an industry award for the campaign I developed after the Harrison Burke account concluded. Jordan revealed his engagement to his longtime girlfriend. Amanda discussed her internship plans for after the baby's arrival, having arranged childcare with a retired teacher who lived in her building. "I never imagined my life looking like this a year ago," Amanda reflected. Single, pregnant, back in school. But I've never been happier. You look it, Taylor observed. Both of you do. It was true. Despite the painful journey, we had emerged stronger. I thought back to the wedding reception, to the public humiliation that had seemed world-ending at the time. That moment of cruelty had ultimately broken patterns that needed breaking, forced confrontations that needed to happen. Our peaceful gathering was interrupted by the doorbell. When I answered, I found our parents standing awkwardly on the porch. "We heard you were having everyone over," our mother said, attempting brightness. "We brought dessert. 6 months earlier, I might have sent them away. But therapy had helped me develop healthier responses. We're just finishing brunch," I said calmly. "You're welcome to join us, but I wish you'd called first." They entered tentatively, clearly surprised by the assembled group and the obvious camaraderie. Our mother's gaze lingered on Amanda's prominent belly, a grandchild she had barely been allowed to acknowledge due to her continued defense of Greg. Conversation stalled briefly before Diane gracefully included my parents, asking about their recent cruise. Gradually, everyone returned to their previous discussions, though with noticeable restraint. After dessert, as guests began departing, our father asked if he could speak with Amanda and me privately. In the kitchen, he seemed uncharacteristically nervous. "Your mother and I have been doing some thinking," he began. "And some counseling," he added, surprising us both. "That's good," Amanda said cautiously. "We've realized we've made some terrible mistakes as parents," he continued, voice unsteady, "especially regarding how we handled Greg's behavior in the wedding incident." Our mother joined us, looking uncomfortable but determined. "What your father is trying to say is that we're sorry. Truly sorry." "For what, specifically?" I asked. Not to be difficult, but because specificity mattered in true apologies. Our mother took a deep breath. "For encouraging Amanda to marry someone we knew was unfaithful. For treating you differently based on appearance, Jenna. For manipulating you both to maintain the family dynamics we were comfortable with. And for the wedding," our father added, looking directly at me. "What happened that night was inexcusable. We should have defended you, not suggested you leave." The acknowledgement, while imperfect, was more than I had expected. Amanda reached for my hand, squeezing it supportively. "Thank you for saying that," I said finally. "It means a lot to hear you take responsibility. We'd like to be part of your lives," our mother said, glancing at Amanda's belly. "Both of your lives, and the baby's too. But we understand if you need more time." "We do need time," Amanda confirmed. "But this is a good start." After they left, Amanda and I sat in my living room, processing the unexpected development. "Do you think they've really changed?" she wondered. "I think they're trying," I replied honestly. "People can change when they recognize the cost of their behavior. But true transformation takes time and consistent effort. I'm willing to see where it goes," Amanda decided. Cautiously. "Me too," I agreed. With appropriate boundaries. 2 weeks later, Amanda went into labor 3 weeks early. I drove her to the hospital at midnight, staying through 18 hours of labor until my niece, Charlotte Grace, arrived with a powerful set of lungs and a full head of dark hair. "She's perfect," I whispered, holding the tiny bundle while Amanda rested. Our parents arrived shortly after, bearing gifts and tentative smiles. They had respected our boundaries during the pregnancy, sending supportive texts but never pushing for more involvement than we offered. Now, seeing their genuine emotion as they met their granddaughter, I glimpsed potential for a healthier family dynamic. Over the following months, we established new patterns of interaction. Our parents attended family therapy with us twice monthly, gradually acknowledging deeper patterns of favoritism and manipulation. Our mother worked especially hard to recognize her weight bias and how it had damaged our relationship. Our father took responsibility for his passive enabling of destructive family patterns. Progress wasn't linear. There were difficult conversations and occasional backsliding into old habits. But the effort was consistent on all sides. Meanwhile, Amanda thrived in her new independence. She completed her first year of design courses with honors while mastering single motherhood. Charlotte grew into a happy, curious baby who brought joy to everyone who knew her. My career continued advancing, with Diane increasingly mentioning future leadership opportunities. I also began dating Michael, a kind architectural photographer I met through a professional networking event. Unlike previous relationships where I'd downplayed my accomplishments to avoid intimidating partners, with Michael I could be completely authentic. 1 year after the wedding disaster, Amanda and I returned to the Grand Marriott for dinner, intentionally confronting the scene of past trauma. "It feels different now," Amanda noted as we were seated near where the head table had been. "Less overwhelming." "We're different," I pointed out. "Stronger." After dinner, we walked through the hotel garden, Charlotte sleeping peacefully in her stroller. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't been so horrible that night?" Amanda asked suddenly. "If we'd just continued as we were?" I considered the question carefully. "I'd probably still be seeking approval I'd never receive. You might be trapped in a marriage with a man who never valued you. We'd certainly not be as close as we are now. So, in a weird way, that awful moment led to something better? Not because of what you did," I clarified, "but because of how we both responded afterward. We broke the pattern instead of continuing it." Amanda nodded thoughtfully. "I want Charlotte to have what we didn't. Unconditional support. Freedom to be herself without comparison. The knowledge that her worth isn't tied to her appearance or achievements. She will," I promised. "Because she has us, and we know better now." As we headed home, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. From public humiliation to genuine healing, from family fracture to reconstruction on healthier terms. The path hadn't been easy, but it had led to something authentic and valuable. The moment I'd warned my family, they would regret their actions hadn't played out as revenge or schadenfreude. Instead, it had become a catalyst for transformation, breaking destructive patterns and creating space for something new to grow. Sometimes the most painful moments contain the seeds of our greatest growth. Sometimes what feels like an ending is merely the necessary demolition before rebuilding something stronger and more beautiful than what stood before. Have you ever experienced a painful moment that ultimately led to positive change? How did you find the strength to set boundaries with family when necessary? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that family healing is possible, even after profound hurt. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you courage and wisdom on your own path to authentic relationships.